My father, mother, sister, and brother all died. My brother made it to 57 because of the effects of trauma. People with lots and lots of trauma have terrible health at the end of their life. What I did as a child was I did everything I possibly could do to counteract what I experienced. Everybody was angry. So I went the joy route, and that's what saved me. That's what kept my head above water until it didn't. When that horse finally allowed me to touch its nose, I burst into tears. All of my trauma came up like a tsunami, kept my head above water until it didn't. Holy fuck, that's the greatest thing I've ever experienced. There's nothing wrong with you. I don't care what diagnosis they've given you. Don't ever tell anybody they need to change. Tell them they deserve to. So we have a choice, either connection or control, and you can't do both.
What's a question a man should ask himself every morning?
I think the most important question is, I want to live here. Can I live here?
You take whatever seat you want.
Oh my God.
You choose.
Well, I think I like looking to my right.
There you go.
I don't get a crick in my neck.
Today's guest is someone I've been very excited to meet for a very long time. And in just the first few minutes of meeting her now, I'm even more excited. So I am so excited for this guest today. Suzi Landolphi is a trauma-informed licensed therapist. However, she wishes to not use her license right now. She is a mental health mentor, a horse-assisted healing expert, the host of Be Crazy Well podcast, which we'll talk about later. She spent decades helping men reconnect with their emotions, their bodies, and their truth, from combat veterans to high-performing public figures. What I love already about Suzi isn't that her work is soft or clinical. It's real and it's raw. It's grounded in movement, presence, and connection, and everything that we stand for at Walk With Me Brother. So, Suzi, thank you for coming on.
Best intro ever, because what I saw you do, which was so wonderful, Rob, was it is so difficult to wrap our head around somebody that's a disruptor and different, right? It really is when you think about it, right? So we want to put everybody in nice little diagnoses and boxes. And then all of a sudden, when you get this disruptor in front of you, it's like, wait, what? She's a horse, what? High profile, what? And, you know, and what, she burned her license? I haven't burned it, but I keep it active, but I don't use it. And I think that that's what's so exciting about what you're doing. You're a disruptor. You're a disruptor in your family. Am I right? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
very much
disruptor
so.
kids call them, everybody calls them the problem child. So I'm sure you will call it the problem
Always
child.
thought my whole life. Yeah.
Well, what I taught Jake was, Jake, problem children are the solution makers. They're trying to tell the family, hey, look, we're all fucked up and we need some help. And the kids act out, and then the parents bring them to a therapist or put them on drugs. The kid goes, never mind, I'll get my own because I can get better.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the child then gets the diagnosis, and the child gets the label that they're the problem, when in fact they're the solution.
Yeah.
So when I
feel
saw
like
what
I've been in crisis management my whole life.
You have.
Yeah.
You have tried to manage the crisis of your family, your culture, your community, your school, all of that you tried to manage. And what do we do with people that don't see things the same way? We call them crazy.
Yep.
We literally do. I mean, some of them we burned at the stake. You know, some of them we lock away. And so I'm so proud when I got your email and then I looked at what you were doing and I went, oh yeah, Disruptor Plus.
Yeah. I'm going to add that to my resume. Disruptor.
Yes, Disruptor Plus. I taught Jake that because he didn't know about it. He always, problem child. And I go, no, you're a disruptor.
Thank you for watching Walk With Me Brother. We are a relatively new podcast. Without your support, without your help, we cannot grow. So please subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up. Please share our episodes. We've got every single week. We have entrepreneurs, doctors, veterans, people, experts within their field, all talking everything related to mental health. So if you haven't catched our previous episodes, go and watch them now. But follow us along and please support our amazing journey. Yeah, that's right. That's his name. Yeah. Big fight coming up. So we wish him all the best for that. I saw the news come out this morning. So that's awesome with one of my country folk, Anthony Joshua. So that'll be awesome. And I'm sure you're going to be, you said you're going to be there present
I'll
at the
be
big
there.
fight. So good luck there. So Suzi, first off, thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate you being here.
Me.
Let's start at the beginning. So every show, everyone I get on, I want to start right at the beginning. I know you've just mentioned to me outside, you know, you grew up in Boston, but I want to know you as a kid, where the journey started, and then where the help and the kind of the career into mental health came for you.
So I grew up in a really chaotic, traumatic household. Wonderful people who were all so traumatized that they could not help us as kids. They just couldn't. And so I am the disruptor, but in a different way. So if everybody's fucked up, crazy, screaming, yelling, drinking, drugging, I was the one that was going to school, paying the rent, cleaning the house.
At what
So,
age?
yeah, so I was still a disruptor, but the opposite side of that. Now, look, these were my father, mother, sister, brother. There's 3 kids and 2 adults. All died at 56 years old. My father, mother, sister, and brother all died. My brother made it to 57
Well,
because of the effects of trauma. People with lots and lots of trauma have terrible health at the end of their life. Like from 50 on, all of that shit starts to accumulate and all those effects start to happen. And so bless their souls. They taught me a lot. I
all at
miss them.
56.
All of them died at 56. My brother made it to 57. So what I did as a child was I did everything I possibly could do to counteract what I experienced. So what did that look like? Well, everybody ate too much, so I made sure I ate healthy. Everybody drank too much, I didn't drink. Everybody couldn't get out of bed, or they were so anxious, they were depressed or anxious, so I made sure that I did what I was supposed to do, went to school, and kept pushing forward. Now, Rob, there's a problem with that too. So as I'm trying to be the overachiever and keep things together, I'm ramping up and I'm believing that nothing's wrong with me, that nothing happened to me, although tons of shit happened to me, but it didn't affect me. And of course, then I had to crash and burn.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've experienced that, right?
Yeah. I mean, just from that alone, from your upbringing, how do you get through something like that? I mean,
What you do if you can is you find other people that can help you. But mostly what I did was I found something that brought me joy. So there's only 3 primary emotions. There's joy, fear, and sadness. And my entire family lived on fear and sadness. And when fear and sadness is not dealt with, when it's not processed, when it's not talked about, it turns to anger. So that was also a big part of my family. Everybody was angry. So I went the joy route and I learned how to dance. And so I became a dancer and I loved school. And so I just did a lot, always an athlete. And that's what saved me. That's what kept my head above water until it didn't. And then finally, thank goodness, I had to finally face my stuff. And my stuff came up when a wild horse allowed me to touch it for the first time.
wow. Where was this?
This was when I was 50, and I was at Lifesavers Wild Horse Rescue, where I'm now on the board of directors, and I help teach people how to gentle wild horses. Actually, we have a staff that knows much more about horses than I do, and I bring the psychological aspect of it. And I thought at 50, I'd done so much shit to myself and to my daughter, gone through relationship after relationship. I said, I'm going to run off and be a cowgirl. I'm from fucking Boston. Like, what do I know? Right? But I'm going to do it anyway. And my daughter goes, okay, Mom, there she goes again. And I found this ad to go to this ranch, this rescue.
Where was this? This is here?
It's right here in Lancaster, Lancaster, California. Well, what's interesting is we now have 1,400 acres and 400 wild horses in Caliente, California, which is north of Tehachapi, south of Bakersfield. So when I got in a 60-foot round pen with a wild horse and a helmet, either wanted to kick me or bite me or whatever, thinking I was going to eat him. When I slowed down and I took my deep breaths, and I promised that I would not do anything other than just let him smell my hand. After a lot of approach and retreat, when that horse finally allowed me to touch its nose, I burst into tears. All of my trauma came up like a tsunami and then settled like a nice calm pond on an evening's night. And I went, holy fuck, that's the greatest thing I've ever experienced. Now I realize how much I need help. And being smart, I said, well, if I become a therapist, I'll be able to also have a therapist, but then I'll be able to learn how to be a therapist and help others. And I only wanted to do it with horses. I only wanted to do equine therapy. So I wanted to help people do the same thing that happened to me. And that's how I started to become a therapist after doing many other things in my life, like at least 20 other things in my life. That's what stuck, and that's what's now brought me these last 25 years to where we are now.
Wow. So what, just from that early life to now, what's maybe something that you didn't understand in your early life that maybe you do now?
I didn't understand how much I had taken on, and that if everybody else is falling apart and I'm helping them, what am I doing with my trauma? The effects of my trauma, the fear and sadness of my trauma, the sexual molestation, the screaming, the yelling, I mean, all that happened, the poverty, and that where'd it go? And I just tried to overachieve it. I just said, well, I'll do one other thing. I'll start a theater company. I'll do this. I'll go to college. I'll do this. And I did not understand how disassociated I was from the effects of what happened to me. So here's what I will share. Rob, there's nothing wrong with you. I don't care what diagnosis they've given you. There isn't anything wrong with you or anybody else. It's what happens to us. It's how we process it, both the hurt and the strength. So what happened for me was I didn't realize how important it was for me to feel all of that, to understand all of that, and then do the healing work I deserved. That's it. You know, we have thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? So for a while, you were running off your thoughts and your feelings. Am I correct? I'm a piece of shit. I'm a fuck up. I got to overachieve. You do the same thing I did, right? And then the one thing that changes us is actions. I still have some crazy thoughts and feelings about most of what I think about myself and feel about myself was either done to me or told to me. That's not a good operating system, knowing the people that did that. And I'm at risk of doing to myself and others what was done to me. So if I don't change through practice, then I have that risk happening and over my head all the time.
So from your kind of connection with the horse, when I think you said you were 50, is that what then led you not only into your own personal therapy, but working in therapy?
Yeah, so I went back to college
Okay.
and I got my degree and I got my license. And the day that I went to go get my license, I waited 7 years. You can have all of these hours and then they give you a time limit of 7 years to get your license. And I was looking at the calendar and I went, holy shit, if I don't go take this exam now, I'll never get my license. And I kept not wanting to get it because I didn't believe a lot of what I was learning. It was all about telling people, I have to diagnose you. You're bipolar. You know, you have, depression. You are anxious. You're all of this. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't tell me anything about the person. And it doesn't tell me where they got it. So everybody's going to assume that they were born with it. I said, wait a minute. I learned how to use the potty and eat with a fork because adults showed me what to do. Guess what? Adults can show you how to be depressed.
Yeah.
You can learn to be depressed and anxious. And when you were talking about bipolar before we started taping, bipolar means up and down and up and down and up and down. What if you live in a family that's up 1 minute and down the next? We have money, now we're going to go spend it all. We're happy, now we're all depressed. Now we're like all angry, now like, well, what if you learned that?
If you are struggling right now, or if you know somebody who is, please talk to somebody. Please reach out to someone. Talk to a friend or call a trusted helpline. In the US, you can reach the National Crisis and Helpline by texting and dialing 988. If you're outside the US, you can find help on findahelpline.com. And I will put all of that information in the description below. So please reach out to someone if you're struggling or if you know someone who is. No, for sure. I was a really happy kid.
Yeah.
Really happy kid. Like
Until?
I was 14, 15, 16, and I mean, from 16 to 24, I just went very dark.
So was your mom and dad happy people?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was always a typical dad, working a lot. Me and my mum clashed a bit, but I had a very good upbringing. You know, I had no trauma in that sense. But it was the trauma that came into teenage years.
Yeah.
Like, so the self-loathing started when I was about 14, 15. I was bullied at school. And although I was still pretty big at school, but it got worse and worse. And then through my 20s, it just, yeah. So I totally agree. I don't think anyone's ever born depressed or, sad, or these are things that, like you say, like instant trauma that hits you. Yeah.
And that trauma is real in your adolescence.
Yeah.
I would ask you to think about, because I had to do this too. I adored my mother. And my mother was the most optimistic, wonderful person. And it sat on top of depression and lack of self-worth and thinking that she didn't do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that as a parent and as a grandparent myself, Rob, and you're a parent, we have to go a little deeper into our parents, not to blame them, but to understand that they could only do what they could do with the information experience they had.
Great.
So when you said typical dad means I don't show my emotions. I put bread on the table. I don't talk. I don't cry. I yell a little bit. Wait till your dad comes home. And then he has to come. See what happened when I said that? You just, and like, oh, now I have to be the bad guy. I wasn't even here when the kid did it. Now I have to punish him. And there's this enormous pressure on parents. And so what I want to say to parents is own your shit. Own it so that your children are released.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to take a look at what I did to my daughter. Because remember I just said you're at risk of doing to yourself and others what was done to you.
100%.
So if I didn't change, it was going to be much harder for her to change.
Yep, 1,000,000%.
Right? And for me,
I've only changed since I've had kids because I have kids.
Yes.
I had to.
You had to.
Yeah.
You deserve to. And you have the support of the internet and people talking about it more. Your dad didn't have any of that.
Nothing. No.
Your mom had none of that.
No.
They just had to do what was done to them, and they had to try to figure it out themselves. And they must have done something right, because here's the other side of trauma. Not only did we get anxiety and depression and the fear and sadness from our childhoods oftentimes, we also got post-traumatic growth. Did you ever hear of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, post-traumatic growth. You have that from that bullying.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you are like anti-bully. You are like, no one's going to do that on my watch. That's not going to happen to my kids. I'm not going to be a bully to my own children. And if dad was a little too harsh at home, he helped set you up for those bullies.
Yeah.
Right? The first bully that we ever meet will be someone in our own household.
Yeah. Agree. It's because you talk about, you teach trauma lives in the body. And that's one thing so just for those people maybe watching now who doesn't understand that terminology, what does that mean to you? Like, I know you can explain it there, the trauma. So what does trauma living in the body mean?
So you don't understand, like people say to me all the time, my heart's just started racing for no reason. That's not for no reason. Something cued your body first, because children, especially babies, they process. So you throw a baby up in the air and the baby goes like this. And they wonder why kids then are afraid of falling, right? Because you're throwing them up in the air. So that little bit of trauma, and some kids like it, and a lot of kids don't. So what happens is the body has to process it first. So it's inside of you that if you almost fall, you might get anxious. If you're asked to go get in a height or walk up a ladder or something like this, you might go, whoa, wait a minute, I might fall. Where'd that come from? Right? And I think if we just take it as simply as that, when I walk into a room and if you're scowling and I see it, the first thing my body's going to do is react. Before I can even think, oh, that's the look of my dad Is he mad at me? What the fuck did I do wrong? Blah, blah, blah. That's not what's happening. My body first gets tense. Do you ever flinch? Someone raises their hand and you flinch.
All the time. Yeah.
That's a body reaction. You don't even know what you're reacting to. Your body does. And I think we need to know that once the body has those physical reactions, if I get in a car and someone goes around a corner a little too fast, I go like this because the sensation is still in my body from that car accident where we almost rolled off a mountain. So we have to understand the body and the mind work together. Don't try to separate them. And why I don't use my license is because I don't want to sit in an office. I want to go do something with you. And what was the first thing you decided to do to help people? Go on a friggin' walk, right? You didn't say, let's all sit down and talk about our feelings. You said, I'm walking. If you want to walk with me, brother.
Yeah.
Right? This is how I said brother, like lost it. Wasn't that great? That's awesome. We don't say as, no as. So that's what that means. And that's why everything that you do to heal has to include a physical aspect of it, a practice.
Yep.
Real practice.
Yep, exactly. 100% in alignment with you there. So just going into you've worked with dozens, hundreds of men over the years.
Yes, I have.
In your opinion, what do you think disconnects us emotionally? I know you can't say one reason why, but in your opinion, what is it?
Well, I think first of all, it's a whole bunch of myths and misinformation. So all babies start out as female. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Okay. There's just something people should know. Now, they're not basically female. We have that XY thing going,
That's right, yeah.
Some women have the Y chromosome, don't even know it. And so what happens is they have the makings of genitals. You look at it, you can see them in the ultrasound. And what happens is when the Y chromosome kicks in for a lot of those children, those female genitals morph to male. Now, the tissue doesn't change and the nerve endings don't change. Now, why am I talking about all this? Because we're more similar than we are different. Shapes are different. There is some difference in what I have in my body and you have. Ultimately, we have not found a difference in thinking about emotions and feeling about emotions, right? And even our body, in terms of the mechanics, works very similar. So if that's true, why are we bringing each other up in such a different way? I mean, what we do to you guys, and I can sit here as a woman and say to you, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. The fact that we have asked you to disconnect from your emotions, the fact that we have said to you, don't cry, man up, suck it up. I have no idea now why we would do that. And number two, that actually hurts women too. Right?
In what way?
Because, now I got to feel it for you. So now I'm all emotion because someone's got to have to feel it. And then we come to you and go, but honey, and I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, but your arm just fell off. I know, don't worry about it. And so I want to say that what we're doing is now we're working against each other. And you're married to a woman. You have 2 children. And you have to collaborate on how things are going to work out in this family, correct?
Yep.
Okay. If you haven't had the opportunity and the right to create the man you deserve to be and the life you deserve to live, if that's still coming from your family, from your culture, from whatever else we said about you or did to you and didn't allow you to do, shame on us. Then you're not being authentic. And that's one of the things you pride yourself in, is being authentic. So I invite you, all the guys, I invite you to create the man you deserve to be and the life you deserve to live. And that means that you can pick and choose, much like a banquet, you can pick and choose what it is and say, no, I'm actually very sensitive. I'm more sensitive in the family than my wife. Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Glad someone is.
1,000,000,000% more sensitive than
And
my
so
wife.
why did you pick her? Because unconsciously you knew someone couldn't be crying all the time.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. What'd she say? She goes, oh, Robb's going emo again. Yeah.
Right? And I want to thank her and say, once in a while, give him a hug. Right? What's your wife's name?
Anna.
Anna? Okay, Anna, give him a hug once in a while and then he'll stop. So I'll tell you
We're
what.
very different culturally.
I'll
and
tell you
everything.
one funny story about crying and why it's so important. So when I was 10 years old, my mom and dad split when I was very young, and it was very traumatic, and it was awful. And then my mom met a man. In fact, I helped her meet him because I was in a dancing school that was owned by a black family in Beverly, Massachusetts. Bless them, the Manuel Mitchell family. And my mom and eventually stepdad, started dating. So he's Native American, black, and Italian. That's his upbringing. And he has this wonderful 2 older sisters. One's Aunt Mary and one's Aunt Cindy. Aunt Cindy sat right at the door of her bedroom and was tatting and had no teeth and put her hair up. And she was the matriarch of the family that gave all the wisdom. So here's some of the wisdom I got about crying, because you deserve to cry. So here it is. So I'm 11, 12. Someone says something to hurt my feelings, and I figure I'm going to go upstairs and get some wonderful comforting and nurturing from Aunt Cindy. So I go up. She's sitting in her room. Remember, no teeth, tatting, which is like crocheting. And I go, Aunt Cindy, so-and-so said such and such to me. And I'm crying. She goes, that's all right, child. You keep crying. No, you should cry, because the more you cry, the less you pee.
Is that right?
And I went, oh, that's good, because I pee a lot. So I think, why would crying be gender, dependent? It's a physical reaction, an emotional reaction that is there to help release. And we need pressure and we need relief.
Like sweating in a way.
That's exactly right. It's like sweating, only from your eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sure you've heard a lot of myths over the years, and myths about men healing. What would you say is the biggest myth you've heard about men
healing?
Yeah.
That they're not capable? Actually, the myth is that they don't believe that they need to, and they don't want to.
Really?
It's not, and that is the myth. I've never experienced that. I've experienced hundreds and hundreds of men that I've worked with in retreats and combat veteran retreats, and with a whole bunch of crazy, wonderful disruptors, very famous disruptors. What I discovered was, when somebody approaches them and says, I'm sorry, and you deserve this, don't ever tell anybody they need to change. Tell them they deserve to. So you deserve to understand what happened to you, Rob, how it affected you, and keep the good shit and change the stuff that doesn't work for you. I have never found a man say, well, I don't want to do that. Right? They've said, oh, wow, you mean I can just, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with me? No. So we throw out all this, misogyny and toxic masculinity and everything like that. I go, what if that's just based on fear? What if we have created a manosphere that says, if you're not in control, then you're going to get hurt, right? You're going to get less than, you're not going to be cared for, you're going to lose any little bit of power that you already have. You said one of the most important words when we sat down. You talked about connection. So we have a choice, either connection or control, and you can't do both. Johann Hari wrote a great book, and he talked about the opposite of addiction is connection. I would say that the opposite of any mental health issues at all is connection. So when there's no judgment and there's no agenda, I find men just as open to wanting to become better for themselves and for the people they care about. That's the myth. Oh, men will never change. No, it's how we approach each other. It's what we say to each other.
Yeah.
Right?
I think, I can only speak from my own experience, not anyone else's, probably like you, but I think in my worst case scenario, my worst case period, me and my wife, we'd only been dating a while. We had a miscarriage. And at that point, I was really low. We only just started meeting each other, really, and being with like 6 months or so. And there was a point I sat down, and I was in a fisherman's village, Marine Darray, and I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I just felt like I was so broken and so cursed. I felt like I was cursed. It was a day where I just felt like...
you felt that you were always the one that was wrong.
Yeah, and I just felt like didn't matter what, because a little bit of a light and happiness had come into my life when she told me she was pregnant, and it was a little bit, honestly, it was not planned or.
And wasn't a little bit. It was
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
was like, I was walking on air when she told me, and she was very nervous because she's Catholic and we weren't married at that point. And it was just like, I said, no, we'll figure out, I'll get married with you tomorrow. We can, we were looking into like.
You became the cheerleader,
Yeah.
the protector.
Yeah, and we, but in her mind, she just met this random English guy 6 months earlier, and we were serious. We were about to live together, but not. Fast forward. But I sat there and I was like, I'm just everyone I touch, everyone I kind of get close to, I break. I just had some toxic relationships in my life, and I was like, and I felt broken. And from that day onwards until today, I'm still trying to put the pieces back together bit by bit. And they're getting it, and they're way better than they were. But I had to be, for years after that, I didn't really get much better, from being completely honest. And, I met different therapists, and you kind of have to gel with your therapist. The first couple of therapists I just had no vibe to.
Yeah.
The one I've got now is great. But I just seriously believe, I think when a man seriously believes that the world would be better off without him, and you start to think like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, because when we found out she'd lost the baby, I was just like, that was it.
When you were bullied, okay, or any time that you made a mistake at home, how were those mistakes dealt with?
Shouting.
Yeah. So they're right there.
Yeah.
You know what shouting does to a kid's brain? Yeah.
So
They go into a panic.
Yeah.
They go into a panic. They also can't believe that the parent is wrong. They have to be wrong.
Mhm.
So every time, bless your mom and dad's heart, every time they yelled at you, and do you have a brother?
Yeah, older brother.
Older brother. So your second born boy?
And he was golden.
Yeah. So I love this. Jake's second born boy.
Yeah, my brother still is like walked on water.
Oh, this is great. This is actual research.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to start thinking about where you are in your family. All right, your second born boy, he's golden. You'll never be first. You do realize that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm second born girl, Rob. I'll never be first, right? So second born kids oftentimes go in the opposite direction of the firstborn kid. The firstborn kid sees mom and dad, follows in their footsteps, lockstep. Second kid comes out and goes, kind of crazy, kind of crazy, kind of crazy. I'm going in the opposite direction.
That's like my daughter now. She's
Yes.
18 months. Yeah.
Exactly. Second born girl.
Oh, I got a boy and a girl, but
Yeah.
he's a rule follower.
Yeah, he's a rule follower.
Yeah.
This is real
And
research.
she is like, I don't give two
she's
fucks.
you.
I'm doing my, oh yeah. That's what my wife says all the time. She even looks like me.
She's you.
My
But
wife-
that's her job. And you need to tell her, thank you. See, no one thanked you. You got yelled at. Instead of being thank you, let's all follow Rob because we all want to do it this way. Rob wants to do it that way. We should go because he's bringing creativity. What are we doing right now? We're in a creative situation. You're going to walk around the world practically, and like, that's what's important for you to understand. Rob, you thought you were broken long before the bullying because you were not as good as your brother and people were yelling at you. So when that baby didn't come out the way that it was supposed to at the time, you take everything on that somehow it's your fault because you were trained to believe it's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not. So right then and there, here, just hand that to me. Give me all your fault. Hand it to me. There you go. Okay, I'm going to hold this for you. If you want it back, that somehow you're at fault for everything, you can ask me, call me up, and I'll bring it back. But no more. You never were to begin with. You were just trying to find some relief. You were trying to find a way to fit in. You were trying to find a way for people to be proud of you.
I've always been the black sheep of the family, always.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And you know what's so wonderful about the black sheep is we make all the changes. We're the ones, black sheep people and animals actually create all the change. Because if everybody's doing this and somebody goes, maybe we want to go put some more air in tires and not make them wood. I think that would be ridiculous, right? You see what I mean? It's like you got to understand you're always going to go in that opposite direction, which is why Be Crazy Well started for me was, wait a minute, I cannot keep going down this mental health hypocritical road. I can tell you to quit smoking, quit drinking, and lose 100 pounds, and I can go home and smoke a carton of cigarettes, drink a gallon of wine, and eat a whole fucking cheesecake myself. That's hypocrisy. I'm not doing it. Whatever I do with you, it's because I'm doing it or I've done it.
Yep. So let's talk about the horses as mirrors.
Ah, my favorite.
Because we talked about. I've been saying this. Like, I want to personally learn, and hopefully anyone watching wants to learn about this. So explain to me.
You want to go experience it?
Yeah, well,
Do you want to
explain how.
come to my ranch and let me put you in a 60-foot
Yeah.
round pen with a wild horse and a helmet? I'll give you a helmet.
So is that to talk me through like what happened? Talk me through this.
So what happens is that wild horses are the smartest horses on the planet because they've had to be, right? So they're living out in the wild. They live in a wonderful community, and they learned everything about their land and how to take care of their foals and how to be part of each other. Okay, got that. Then we round them up and we capture them, which is a horrific situation. And then we bring them to auctions and we auction them off. And this particular wonderful woman, Jill Starr, who I adore, started this wild horse rescue where she started to go and reclaim those wild horses, buy a bunch of land, put up very tall fences, and let them roam and just be wild horses again. Okay? We don't let them breed, so we do that. But so they now do not believe that we're their friends, that we care about them. We've already pulled them away from their family. And what happens when you learn how to gentle a wild horse is you actually learn how to gentle yourself. So when you go in that round pen, that horse believes you're probably going to try to eat it, capture it again, and it will do almost anything, including throwing itself over a fence to get out. What we have to do, Rob, is exactly what you do with your children and what you've done in your own healing work, which is the first thing you have to do is just breathe. So I have to get in my body and I have to make sure that my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions are the same. Now, if I'm in there going, oh, I hope it doesn't kick me, I'll just pretend I'm not afraid. That horse is going to go, liar, hypocrite. So you have to go in there, you have to breathe, and you have to calm yourself. And say, I'm not going to hurt you. And say it out loud, say it in your brain, whatever you want. And then you slowly walk to the side of the horse, away from it, and it moves away from you. So now you've got some movement. And then that's called pressure. And then you walk the other direction and you start walking towards it, keep about 6 feet away, and it moves in the other direction. And then you know what you do? You take the pressure off and you back way up and put your back up against the fence. And you know what the horse does? Where you going?
Yeah, what's going on?
That you were going to eat me. When you release people and you take the pressure off yourself or a wild horse, it moves towards you. So let's go back to about healing for men. I don't ever hear the word perform. I don't have to get in bed and perform. You have to perform. You have pressure on you all the time. You're supposed to be the leader and make all the money, even though now I burned my bra so that in 1968, so that women could have the same job and we could help you out. But somehow you have all the pressure. Where's the release? You know how you released the pressure on yourself when when you and your wife had a girlfriend at the time had a miscarriage? You know how you released that pressure? You thought you had to die. What have we done to make you believe that if you don't perform in the right way all the time and be successful, that you're supposed to die? Oh, that's why the suicide rate for men is much higher.
Yeah.
Got it. So that's what the horses do. They teach you that you are valuable because you breathe. You don't have to do anything for that horse. Just be kind. Just be honest. And if you say you're going to put your hand out to touch its nose, don't put your hand all over it and lie to it. Just let it, and then walk away. Walk away.
And you've used this therapy with combat veterans,
Yeah.
public figures.
I took Jake there.
Yeah.
I have the great experience of watching Jake and taking photographs and talking about, what it was like for him. Because, all we see about these high-profile celebrities who are either actors or athletes, musicians, is they must perform. Oh, here we go again. Same for women. Okay, that's when they do have to perform. And what was so nice was he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to perform at all. He just had to be himself. He just had to make sure that he was thinking, feeling, and acting in an honest way, in a slow and gentle way. That horse fell in love with him. Now I have to drive it across the United States and bring it to his new place in Georgia.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, just think about high-profile men. I mean, what do you think? What do you think people are misunderstood about, like those because the pressure, like you just mentioned it there, that he must have. He's in the public eye, and millions and millions and millions of people follow him and adore him, or don't adore him. Either way. But what do you think? There's something that we don't understand about these high-performing males, especially.
And I think that they were born into a situation where they didn't get to decide and design and describe what manliness is. And so what happens is they're trying to fit themselves into a description that they had nothing to do with. I had a wonderful opportunity to work with a very wonderful musician, African American. And one of the things that I said to him was, you still have historical trauma. And he looked at me and goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, you come from slavery. He goes, well, I wasn't there. And I go, no, you were, because your ancestors were there. And that's been passed down.
Yeah.
And so you were told that you couldn't stay with your wife, the woman you loved on the plantation, you couldn't be with. And if you were, you would be sold, or that woman would be sold. Your kids would be taken away. You just have to go make sure you make lots of babies, and as a stud there. And so you can't be part of a family. And the only way you're valuable is if you impregnate another woman, another woman, another woman. And I said, because he was complaining about how he was cheating on his wife. And I said, so that's just part of your historical trauma. I will never forget the look on his face as like, what? Like all my homeboys are doing that. That's what he said to me. And I go, well, I get it. I get why they're doing it. So going back to how to be the man you deserve to be, like he went back into his family and completely changed and said, I'm going to stop using people in order to make me feel valuable. My value is right here in this family. So anyways, he said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it up to my family. And now he's created the man he wants to be, not what he thinks everybody else wants him to be. And, women are stuck in the same hostage-taking situation, because that's really what it is. I was thinking about this the other day, Rob. I have to act in a certain way in order to make you feel and be more manly. I went, well, wait a minute. That's like me having to take a poop for you, or, brushing my teeth for you, or going to the gym and I lift the weight so you get strong. People can't do that for one another. It doesn't work that way. So that if you want to be softer, gentler, kinder, and I need you to be this man in order for me to be a feminine woman, that's using each other. Why can't we pass that back and forth? I look like I'm a pretty tough woman, don't I? Yeah, you wouldn't want to fuck with me if I get
No,
mad.
no, ma'am. No
As
way.
short as I am, I'm the same height as everybody else when I lie down. So that's all that counts anyway. Does that make sense? Am I making sense about, just think about what you've been told. Do you accept it yourself? So I believe that every single human being has the right to design the person they deserve to be. I do make one suggestion. Don't base it on your thoughts and feelings, because we've already discovered you and I got a lot of those from our childhood trauma. Base it on your principles, not your gender. Base it on your principles. So when I started to do my healing work, I had to decide, because I was abused by my dad, my bio dad, I learned to lie. I know that made me a very good actress, by the way. I do have a degree in theater before I became a therapist, so I will say one thing about that. The trouble is, I was lying about everything, right? From that abuse. So what's my first principle? Honesty. I had to practice. No tools. I don't talk about tools. I haven't used my toolbox. When was the last time you opened your toolbox? Right? So, but a practice you do every day.
Yeah.
So you practice through your principles. So honesty, kindness, and integrity.
Okay.
That's it. And if I have to say something or do something, it's not, well, because I'm a woman, It's not because I'm this, that, I'm old, I'm this. It's because my principles demand. That's what I've committed to. Pretty simple.
So you've gone, obviously from the work you've done now, you started your own podcast, Be Crazy Well. You've had some, I just skimmed through some amazing guests on there. So if you haven't checked out, we're going to put Suzi's link in the chat below, but some amazing guests, amazing podcasts. What's some of the lessons that you've learned from your guests on that show from Be Crazy Well?
Fucking listen, Suzi. Shut the fuck up and listen. Yeah, really listen. Listen to understand, not what should I ask? Do I have booger in my nose? Don't listen that way, Suzi. Like, really listen and go with where the principles and the feelings and the thoughts are taking us. What if we all did that? What if you sat down with your kids, especially your daughter, and because you're in a hurry and you have an agenda, you gave up that agenda for just a few minutes and just was with her and let her do her thing. Same with your son. And all of a sudden you understood more about why she is in this world and how she experiences it, right? So what I learned was every single person that came in and sat opposite me, I was so grateful for. I learned so much. And I will forever and ever always be grateful when I get to do this. That's why I said yes to you. I said, oh, I want to get to do this.
And you come a long way. You fought like big traffic to get here, so I do appreciate you. That's no small feat. Thank you for that. So listening, if there's any men listening to this show today, what would you tell them to apply? Like from what you've learned from some of you, maybe not maybe your advice, but lessons that you've learned from some of your guests.
Calvin Love said that I don't always agree with everything that my parents do or say, and I don't have to. I just love them. And Tim Harrington, this idea that we all deserve to be heard and cared for, and that families can't do this by themselves. At one time, we really did have villages where people helped one another.
True.
And I think back to all of them. They all shared something with me that was so important for me to hear, to practice more. And I was very grateful that my daughter, who actually produced all of that, which was even more wonderful, she actually put me in the hot seat. I don't know if you saw that one. And she interviewed
Yes, I did.
me.
Yeah, I did.
And she didn't let me get away with shit.
I did.
She called me out. So if you were going to say, what would I give advice to men? Own your shit, just like we all should. And let people call you out and not take it personally. You don't have to fight back. If someone's calling you out and you know you didn't do it, it's their experience. So just listen and see if you can find something in that. You don't have to fight everybody or everything, because what happens is we've made you warriors and we've made you the protectors. And I think what happens then is that who's protecting you? How do you know how to be a protector if you weren't protected? So I would say it's a parallel path for men. They have to learn and allow to be vulnerable and be protected. And then they get to be a protector based on principles, not a mythological, definition of a man. I think that is the greatest freedom that you deserve. You deserve that.
So a man's kind of like really struggling. He's last hope. Hopefully he finds this. What would you say would be what would you suggest for his first step to be today?
I always say to everybody, the first step is going back into your body, because I think we disassociate so much from our body. I know it's going to sound too easy. So when you get diagnosed, people start giving you medication, right? So we either medicate ourselves through food, through alcohol, drugs, with that. And then if we really are in trouble, we go to a doctor and we get more medication. What if the greatest drug on the planet was at your fingertips and could allow you, literally allow you to calm down quickly and be able to stop the flow of your own adrenaline. It's called oxygen. Literally, I know it's going to sound so pedantic and so like simplistic. The first thing, and ask Jake about this because we went to the Olympic training center and we worked with the Olympic boxing team. And the first thing we taught him was breath work. First thing. The first thing I had to do when I went in without Wild Horse was to deep breathe. Why? Because my childhood set me up to have adrenaline every hour on the hour, whether I needed it or not. So did yours, which is why you drank. Because what is socially acceptable to help you calm down is a drink. So if we could teach everybody, and they go, well, because I'm breathing, I'm here. I go, no, you're shallow breathing and you're living on adrenaline. So I would ask everybody to first start with that. Just get that adrenaline to stop flowing so that you can think clearly. You mentioned ADHD before. ADHD is the diagnosis we give children because the parents are having a hard time paying attention to their children, right? They have the attention deficit because of what's going on in their life, work, and their struggle and everything else. So the kid starts to act out because it's running on adrenaline. And what do? We give the kid the medication and the diagnosis. So I'm on this kick. It's like, it's just, I don't care. And you're going to walk, right? What do you think is going to happen to you about walking? How much oxygen do you think you're going to be inhaling on a daily walk?
A lot for
A
40 months.
lot.
A lot.
A lot. It's not just going to be your muscles aching and your muscles being tired. You're going to get a massive amounts of oxygen, which is one of the best things we can do. And then you get to go to talk to someone. I'm a big fan of peer-to-peer support. So men should be talking to men. Go get your brother and sit down and talk and listen to understand and know that you deserve that. You deserve that support. You really do.
So what's a question a man should ask himself every morning, do you think?
I think the most important question is, what happened to me? I need to know what happened to me. I watched you even during this podcast. You said a little, a lot. You said, well, a little. And I want to say, I think it was a lot more than you thought. So we tend to minimize what happened to us. And then the more you and I talked and the safer you felt, because I have no agenda, no judgment, you then started to say, no, wait a minute, I was yelled at a lot because those poor people, my mom and dad, were doing the best they could, right? And I was the problem. And so now you get to say, oh, that's what happened to me. And that's why I try to overachieve. That's why I have to do everything to the nth degree. That's why, what if you didn't always have to do that?
Yeah. I think one of the things what I did when I kind of had this breakthrough moment of spiritually, but the one thing I did that changed everything was I asked for help. Okay.
Ask for
And
help.
I did it via email, and it took me a week to write that email. And I must have spent, no word of a lie, probably 8 hours on that email to my mum and dad and my brother and my sister-in-law. My wife kind of knew, but it was to her as well. But I'm just one of these people that I'm more written than speaking. And I'm not much of a texter, but me writing, I'm very creative when I write. And I was able to put everything into that email. And I was like sobbing writing this email. It was,
That's awesome.
and I had it in my drafts, and this was like, I got it by the Thursday, and I kept saying to my wife, should I send it to them? I was like, don't know, should I send it to them? And she's like, I don't know, it's up to you. And I read it out over and over, and I kept adding bits and taking bits. But when I got it all written down there, because everybody always asked me, like, how does it feel? Or one of the things I put in that email was like, I'd never felt proud of myself. It doesn't matter what I've done. I did an Ironman, just did it. I've done this, I've helped people, I've built businesses. I've never ever felt proud of myself. And I thought, well, this is what I'm going to do now to make myself feel proud. I'm going to walk, hopefully that helps, walking 3,000. I have to find something that I'm proud of.
Well, let me ask you a question to put you on the spot here, since it's your podcast. Would you want your children to struggle with?
Never. And that's why I'm doing it. Never.
Mr. Hypocrite. I mean, Rob.
I know.
Right? Once you realize you're valuable because you breathe, and you don't have to be perfect, your children will relax. You will not put that on them. You will not be that yeah, but parent. You know, the parent that goes, well, that's good, honey, but why don't you? Yeah, terrible. Do you know that causes more depression than a slap? And I'm not recommending slapping.
No.
Ever. But that yeah, but that you're never quite good enough, or being yelled at or blamed or whatever, or being controlled, man, it does a number on our self-worth. You're valuable, Rob, because you breathe. And now you're going to walk. Hey, by the way, do we get to meet you in different places and walk with you?
Yeah. I've done my map. So yeah, I leave here, Santa Monica Pier, and I head, first stop's kind of like Pomona way. So it's about 40 miles. Then head towards, Barstow, and then Arizona, Needles, Flagstaff, and then into New Mexico. First big city is Albuquerque. And then from New Mexico, I hit the northern kind of panhandle of Texas. That's going to be a lot of running, ultra running across there because there's not many towns. Oklahoma, into Oklahoma, and then Tennessee. Nashville's the next big stop. Up into Virginia, Richmond's the next big stop. Then as it gets on the eastern corridor, I go to no particular, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, and then end in Montauk, Long Island.
So when you're going through Arizona, you're going to go through the Navajo Nation.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
I have lots of friends there.
Really?
So if you would like some company.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the whole reason I'm doing it. I mean, it's not, honestly, this is not about me. Like, what I'm wanting to do is connect with people. So someone said to me, well, why are you doing it? Like, why would you want to do it? Like, and a few friends, I think, still kind of, Rob's a bit wacky and crazy.
Thank goodness. Crazy well. Tell him now you're crazy
well. And then I said, honestly, the intention was to save one person. That was the whole goal of this. It wasn't to save thousands or hundreds. It was just, if this time next year, somebody says to me, I'm still here because I met you, or I heard your podcast, or I heard you say how big, I'm 6'3.5". Maybe I don't look like I've got any problems, but underneath, like, there's a lot of legs working to kind of make me have this kind of swan theory effect. But if I have one person and I've done my job, that's it. And if I can save one today, maybe there's one tomorrow.
I can think of one person you can save.
I think my kids have, I met somebody a few weeks ago and he said, like, your purpose in life should never be your kids or your wife. And I don't know if I fully understand that, because my kids gave me a sense of purpose. Maybe they're not the whole reason I'm living, but they've given me a purpose to kind of
balance.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what you're saying, because we're the only animal on the planet that keeps our kids, sometimes kids, and we use them as a way to feel good about ourselves. And ultimately, and I think it was when Logan got leukemia that I really shook me, because I kept saying to him, my job is to keep you safe. Say it back to me. I couldn't keep him safe from leukemia. So then I realized, I said, oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. My job is to teach you how to keep yourself safe, to create the person you deserve to be in the life you deserve to live. So, Rob, it's a parallel path. You can't do that for them if you're using them to make you feel valuable. You have to own your own value and help them create their own value, right? So it's always going to be a parallel path. And that's what this walk can be for you, so that you never, ever, ever have to doubt your value again.
Never, yeah.
Ever.
That's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Hey, how about if we call it a practice?
Yeah.
Daily practice.
Well, somebody said to me, well, what are you going to do when you get there? You're going to swim back? And I was like, that's a great idea. But no, so I'm going to wrap up today, but I want to thank you so much for coming on.
It was a pleasure.
I could sit here all day with you, but I loved hearing your story. And remember, if you are struggling right now, if you do need help, we've got a text helpline, we've got a call number, which we will put in our bio chat below. But again, thank you.
You can put my number up there, because it's already on some bathroom walls in Hollywood when I first got here, and some of the stalls in the bathroom. But anyway, yeah, put my number up there. It's up everywhere. Everybody knows my number.
So any final words from you today, like in terms of just anything that you want to share that we've not shared?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we can't do this alone. It's absolutely impossible.
Impossible.
There's no such thing as being independent, right? You can either be codependent, where you're like everybody is supposed to make you valuable, or you're interdependent. And that's what's so wonderful about what you're doing. And even what we're all doing now is we can all understand that what I do in my life does affect a lot of people. And therefore, it matters to me now what I do and how I do it. And that's how I live, according to my principles. So I just invite everybody to be crazy well. Join the mental health evolution.
Yes.
Rah.
Let's do it. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode today, check out our previous episode. But if you enjoyed this episode today, please just give us a comment, a like, share this if it's helped, share this with your friends, your family, subscribe. We've got every single week, we've got the most interesting mental health experts on the planet joining us, from doctors to equine specialists to public figures, entrepreneurs, people who have suffered from severe grief of, losing their significant others through suicide, trauma specialists. So please share this journey. We're going to be meeting someone every single week. And Suzi, we look forward to walking with you next year.
I'm walking.
Bring your crew
coming.
out with you. All right. And thanks for having us.